Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever this podcast may find you. It is I, as always, Gavin.
And I, Justin.
Whoa!
We're in the same place.
At the same time.
For the first time in almost a month.
Oh my god, we're doing a podcast together at once? Wow!
I know, not over the internet.
What a fucking novel idea.
It's been a crazy month, but either way, we're back together, we're in the same place, we're recording in our normal location.
Yeah, and we're recording this kind of at the end of the day, which is why this is our third take of the intro. And I just got done driving a Mk8 GTI.
Which is interesting, to say the least.
I have some notes, so why don't we just get into that?
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good in the hood.
Dog. Well, welcome back. I guess this is the first time. How are my levels, by the way? Where do I need to be? Do I need to be further away?
Basically like a hand's length. So right about here. That was quite. Now imagine if you could hear that in stereo.
Oh, that'd be great. So this is the first time. Okay, wait. Last week. Where was I last week?
Last week, you did a podcast with
Chen because
I was at a funeral.
You were yes. The week before was when I was in California.
Yep. And then the week before that, because it was the day before you were leaving to California, we did it remote Wednesday night.
Right.
And then the week before that was in person, I believe.
It was in person, but I think I probably forgot my my adapter, so it didn't quite feel right.
Yeah.
So we're getting there. Progress is happening. I promise you.
The train is moving forward, albeit slightly. We're currently stoking the boiler. It's just got this shoveling coal.
Yeah, we're shoveling our first shovel of coal back in after the train chilling at the station for a few weeks.
Yep.
But we are back. We're in the same place.
Same studio.
At the same time. We're in the studio.
Quote unquote.
Studio, whatever you want to call an unfinished basement.
Yep.
But yeah, we're recording this right now. It is 4:06 p.m. on a Saturday, which is not normally what we do. But it's because, well, tomorrow is snowing, and I had a Mk8 GTI today.
Yes.
The first GTI I've actually driven in like a really long time because R32 was the last Volkswagen product that I drove. I don't count Porsche as Volkswagen product. It's even though there is ownership that's shared back and forth, and it's very complicated.
They're still fundamentally different.
They are still different. There isn't really a Porsche with an MQB platform.
No.
Because the Macan is not MQB.
No,
as much as people would love to shit on it.
It shares the same with the SQ5, which is Audi's mid-size platform.
Yeah, it's a longitudinal engine.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, Mk8 GTI. This podcast is going to come out on the 6th of February. Mm-hmm. If you want to learn about a Mk8 GTI, you can go look up anyone else's review. If you want to do that right now, there isn't really a shortage of that. What I will say, although it's been a while since I've driven a GTI of any kind, let alone like a modern one, it feels like a Mark 7.
Shocker.
Yeah. It feels just like a Mark 7. I asked the good people of Instagram and my Facebook what they wanted to know. The more common question was about the interior, and if the interior was, with the haptic feedbacks and such a problem. Well, I was able to turn the heated wheel on mid-corner.
That's good. No, it's not. That's not the wheel that I want warm when I'm in a corner. Yeah. Can we say we're surprised? Wait, no, we can't.
No. Well, so, I watch other people's YouTube videos, and a lot of that stuff you do kind of, you really do need to take with a grain of salt. There are trusted sources that I do follow, such as Matt and Zach at The Smoking Tire. And I remember Zach getting into a bit about, how he also turned the heated wheel on while cornering. And a notification flashes on saying your heated wheel is now on.
Thank you.
The Porsche 718 Boxster GTS 4-liter. Mm-hmm. Mouthful. Kind of had to think about how to say that. That had a heated wheel, but it had a little click button at the 6 o'clock position on the wheel on the back side of it.
Yeah.
So it's like you reach around the 6 o'clock, what a watch person calls the 6 o'clock, the very bottom of the wheel. You reach around the back end, and it's actually on the back side of like the spoke of the wheel. It's just behind that on the back side. You just go click, and then like you feel it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it's like not too strong, but it's like warm enough where it's like, oh, I can drive with the top down in 50-degree weather, and it feels great.
Okay.
The heated wheel does work pretty well on the GTI, and there were some times where, yes, I did touch it intentionally to turn on the heated wheel because it was 30 degrees out today.
So where's the button at?
It's on the 3 o'clock position, so the right spoke at the corner, at the very cutting edge or the bleeding edge of the spoke. I took some video on my phone. I don't think I took any stills of it on my phone.
So it'd be like where like a lot of like volume controls would normally be where your thumb would go, right?
Yes. Hold on, audience. Okay, so I found this. Yeah. So on the right spoke, you have your interchangeable submenus that are on the virtual cockpit.
Yeah.
So, gone are the days of physical instruments, and it's all now a screen.
Okay.
Which the layout can be made to look nice, and you can have like navigation in it, and like that's great. I think that Volkswagen, at least in the Mark 8, I haven't driven ID4, and I haven't driven Golf R, and I haven't driven the other newer offerings.
Yeah.
I imagine it's all very similar. Audi definitely did the better job.
Gotcha.
Especially with some menus, because you'll have like your virtual cockpit looking in front of you, and you'll have like the map and stuff, and you'll have 2 squares, one on either side of the cockpit.
Okay.
And they have like these rounded off edges, and there'll be like these red, and I'm sure you can change that, but these red squares. And I only had the car for like a few hours a day. I would like to take one for a week and like really get into it, find my comfort, find my zone, and kind of, let it get under my skin. Yeah. I would like to like have a go for a week because like the ride quality was nice. Power was it was plentiful for sure. There was actually a wall that I hit of power at a certain speed.
Interesting.
I didn't top out the car, but at a certain 3-figure zone.
In kilometers per hour. Naturally.
Sure. Yeah. That would exist in kilometers. Definitely. For sure. Totally. Close course, filmed in Mexico.
Yep.
It actually was to a point where I was like, leaned back, like I was in my seat. I was like good to go. And like we were like, I was giving it the beans. First gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear. And at a certain point, about 110.
Gotcha.
I actually hit the speed wall enough where my body actually like leaned forward.
Huh.
It was like an actual like discernible, like almost like a governor, but like I still kept creeping up.
Weird.
Got up to about 130.
That's weird.
Yeah, and like the car was super planted.
Yeah.
Zero drama. And I'm trying to be more open with what the perception of fun is. Mm-hmm. For some people's perception of fun, it is a 2-seat sports car on a sunny day with an empty road, and you're banging gears, you're getting heel toes, you're chucking in at the right point. You get that satisfaction, that really buzzy like satisfaction, and you have a car that makes an exceptionally nice engine note, especially at the top end, saying Miatas, S2000s, Porsches, etc. And some other people's idea of fun is something that they can just put their right foot down and just go.
Yep.
And that's kind of what the GTI is now. The body weight and the lean is there, and that it's good, I think. The body lean communicates kind of like what's going on. Steering is basically dead.
Yeah.
It's interesting because for our setup today for the video, I was in my car. I took my car, and that was the camera support car.
Yeah.
The little Fiesta that could.
Exactly.
And that's how we got our rollers. We did the same setup that you and I did before with the Saab.
Okay.
And actually, I was able to snag a Hero 8 Black from work.
Hell yeah.
So I had rollers with 2 Hero 8 Blacks.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And so jumping from my car into the Mk8 GTI, and then there were some times where I hopped back into my car before the end of the day today, and I felt the jump in steering feel and engagement. The delta between my car and the Mk8 GTI is like the delta between like an E90 M3 or dare I say like a 911 and my car.
Just to go in the opposite direction.
Yeah, so my car is actually the delta in between the two. I keep forgetting how good the electric steering is in my car.
It's damn good.
Yes, even with Blizzaks on, I actually felt that the steering in my car was a bit sharper and more direct in a Fiesta ST with WS90 Blizzaks.
Yeah,
on a dry day than a brand new Mk8 GTI on all seasons. And all seasons for the kind of driving that we had today, all seasons were actually probably the go-to.
And they're fine and inconsequential.
Yeah, because it was like 30 to 35 degrees. The road was dry. It was kind of bumpy in some areas, but like there wasn't any water to navigate. But it was definitely too cold for something like an extreme contact sport.
Yeah.
So it was a Pirelli P0 mud and snow.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So like a very like middle of the road all season. And it rode well. The dampening was good. Even in the sport mode, in like the bumpy sections of Antelope Island, it was fine. Like the bumps were definitely there, but it definitely is. This car just wants to isolate you from what's going on outside, even in the sport mode. Like the differential between sport and comfort wasn't really that much.
Yeah. I see, and I think going back to your like different kind of buyers, different strokes for different folks theory, I'm pretty sure that in that lower end market, like that GTI sits, like the lower end new car market.
We'll get around to that because I also have some things to say about that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There is the type of buyer that I think is enough of an enthusiast to want something like different than the rest of the crowd and mildly fun enough in a straight line, like you said, but also enjoys being semi-removed.
Yeah.
Because they're not buying it to do canyon carving. They're not buying it to do anything like that, but they enjoy owning that thing that basically its forte is existing in the background and just doing kind of most whatever you tell it.
Yeah.
Whereas there's that person and then there's me where I like cars that are kind of like that to some degree, like my Audi and whatnot, somewhat removed and larger.
Yeah, you have an Audi from the 90s, you have a Saab from the 80s, you have a Tacoma.
And I think my enjoyment more comes not from the wanting things to be removed, but more from I just enjoy owning the thing. Not necessarily the driving of the thing, but just owning the item, if that makes sense.
That does,
so
yeah.
Just painting a couple different pictures here, but it basically sounds like the Volkswagen is just German. It's just a Volkswagen.
It is just, we don't get the Golf anymore, so this may as well be the Golf, except it's fun.
Yeah.
To the price.
This is where it's painful, I'm sure.
We had the Monroney with us. There was no dealer markup on this car.
Okay.
On the Monroney. There was probably another sticker.
Yep.
Because I heard, so Jaden, who I hopefully was going to be with us tonight, but he had other engagements to do.
Yeah.
So the car spec'd out as a base before delivery was $35,000.
Okay.
Delivered was $37,000 with another $3,000 dealer markup. Which, okay, you break it down to $3,000 dealer markup. It's like, okay, that's not that bad considering like what 400Zs, Type Rs, GR Corolla, even fucking Kia Tellurides. Like, Tellurides like have way more of a markup than these, or what that was.
Yeah.
But that means out the door, this is a $40,000 Golf.
And that $3,000 markup is not far off of 10% of the purchase price. That's pretty far up there as far as percentage-wise.
Sure, yeah. If you blow that up to 10% of like what a $100,000 car is, then that's another $10,000.
Yeah.
So I spent the better part of the afternoon kind of struggling with a $40,000 GTI that is not. I don't even think GTIs at $40,000 are really worth it if they're like maxed out. Granted, so this car had the cloth seats, the cloth buckets,
nice,
which actually weren't bad.
Okay.
Like from the seat snob that I am, the bolstering was impressive considering it was a base seat, fully cloth. But I think that's a good thing because in the winter, like it was today, like the car was never cold, and in the summer, it's not going to be hot.
I actually really miss cloth seats.
I kind of do too. Well, I have some cloth, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So, okay, it has cloth seats. It had DSG, which is a no-cost option.
Yeah.
And heated wheel, radar cruise, lane keep assist, a full, virtual cockpit with the user interface and, Apple CarPlay. I wasn't able to plug my phone in because I didn't have a USB Type-C to Type-C. I only had Type-C to Type-A.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to use that, but it had wireless charging, backup camera, sensors. So, okay, maybe they just... And I haven't done a whole ton of research into the Mk8 GTI. I just remember some driving impressions from other people.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the knowledge that I kind of went into this. And then, also knowing that, it's basically still MQB. So how much different could it really be? So,
So, I mean, it has a lot of the shit. Like, that's...
if this was a base at a base car at 30,000,
Yeah.
I would say, it's not for me. I totally understand why someone else would get it. Base at 35, 35 out the door. Okay. Base at 40? No.
There's kind of I feel that barrier of crossing from 30 into 40 is the first big barrier on pricing. I think.
Yeah.
Because that is where you start to cross into what has traditionally been for about even as short as the past 5 years, like starting to crouch into entry-level luxury car territory.
It is. A $40,000 car should be a nice place.
Yes, because I think you can get most of like the A-class Mercedes starting in the low to mid 40s somewhere.
I mean, CLAs are...
Yeah.
CLAs started at the high 20s, didn't they? Like, at least the first ones did. I think low 30s, probably.
Yeah.
Like 29,995 or something like that.
And you can get, A3s would start at like 43 or 45, I think.
Okay,
And
yeah.
that, yes, that's MQB based.
Yeah.
But I don't know at that price range, even though I don't necessarily like the A3 and how it is technically a dressed up Volkswagen, would it not be better off just getting like a A3?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you need the hatch, I understand.
Yeah.
I did bring up S3, getting a used S3 for the same money.
Yep.
Because you could probably buy a lightly used current gen S3.
Yeah, like a lease return.
Yeah, something like that. I could not find the traction control button.
Did they finally ditch it?
I think they ditched it. Because it wasn't in any menus. It wasn't a physical button. It wasn't on the wheel. It wasn't to the left of the wheel. It wasn't on the center section in between the driver and passenger. I didn't find it. If you know of a way to find the traction control button,
That's wild.
holler at your boy. But yeah, I wanted to do a launch and was not able to do so. I can kind of do a boost, a gear boost or whatever, brake boost or whatever. You just hold the brake and throttle and go. But
So it looks like it is. I just Googled. It looks like it is buried in a menu somewhere.
are you sure?
At least according to this little thing right here. Let's see. Yep, you go to vehicle, and then
There wasn't anything like that for under vehicle though.
you go to vehicle and then brakes. And then it's ESC off as in brakes.
Okay, I gotta look through because I did a little video at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Checking out, going through menus and kind of bitching to camera about why can't I find this?
Yeah, literally, you have to go into brakes, then click there's automatic ESC on, ESC off. Then if you click off, then it asks you twice to confirm, are you sure you want it off? And then it's off.
Interesting.
And now the question is, being German, is it really off at that point?
Well, no, knowing Volkswagen specifically, no, it's not off.
No.
With BMW, I would assume they have a better reputation at least for that.
Yeah. It's too...
Okay. I mean, you wouldn't... That's where ABS control shit should be, under brakes, not ECS. Because ECS generally, and maybe it's different with this car, but generally is pulling throttle, not necessarily throttle and brake.
It's a lot more than just brakes, even if it involves brakes.
Right.
It's the whole car. Mm-hmm. And I look at that and I'm like, man, I wish cars weren't so... although it's great that they're so technologically involved, because then when everything talks, they can make safer decisions on when traction control needs to move in. However, It would be funny if cars were still a little more old school where all those systems operated independently.
Sure.
Then what I would do is just cut the power wire that goes to the traction control module. Pull a fuse, cut the power wire, make a switch, something.
Yeah.
But you can't do that. You do that, the whole car goes, what the fuck is life? I can't think.
Exactly. Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean, that's... there's so many weird little things I have about this because I love technology and I love the way that so many of these things are going, but I also hate touch screens in cars or like capacitive touch buttons when they just overtake everything. I've even been pretty vocal about, okay, I don't like digital displays, but if we're going to do a digital display, why in the fuck can I not customize it or do what I want
Yeah,
with it?
well,
Like,
Ford is getting into that with the new Mustang.
thank God. Like,
Kind of.
there's no reason that shouldn't exist if it's a display.
Right. It's just an LCD panel.
Yeah. An LCD panel run by a little microcomputer.
Yep.
It should be completely customizable within certain reasons, of course, but, you know, colors, backgrounds, whatever the fuck. Like,
Sure.
it's a screen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's screen for the sake of screens, I think, at this point.
Yep.
People, the more common folk, and maybe the people that are actually buying these, see a car with the screen and go, ooh, future. Ooh, this is a nice, this feels like a spaceship.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of what's predicated the sales of Teslas, because, there is elegant minimalism and then there's Tesla. Like they're not the same. I feel like as a place to be though, the GTI was not bad.
Yeah.
Like I would happily road trip that car.
Okay.
Like so it did have an exhaust on it. It was a catback technically, but like it was way more dull than mine.
Gotcha.
It was like it could have been a factory sport exhaust kind of thing.
Okay.
Very OEM plus. But like the car wasn't tuned. Didn't have an intake or a blow off valve or sway bars or upgraded brakes or like none of that. It was basically stock, 12,000 miles. It had a slight catback to it. So there was some drone at some points in time, but like it wasn't bad.
More or less was a stock. Okay. And because that has a little bit more room in the back than your car, like the back seats.
It's about the same.
Okay, about the same.
Yeah.
And how were the center buttons? Were they pretty shit too? All the capacitive things like underneath the screen?
There's not a lot that's under the screen.
It's almost all buried in the screen.
It's almost all buried in the screen, and there's HVAC that is just below the screen.
Okay.
That's capacitive, and it's right on a little ledge where, like, when one, and maybe for those listening, if you don't rest your thumb or another part of your hand on the ledge, while operating a touchscreen and driving at the same time, maybe I'm false in assuming that everyone does. It's what I do. I don't normally just like have my hand hover over the screen and poke because, you're driving. There's bumps in the road. Your hand's going to move. You need some sort of stability for that. Well, guess what? That's where the fucking capacitive touch buttons are for the HVAC or for the volume control.
I bet you I'd have the same problem because I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah, Jane, that was one of the things that Jane was talking about. He met up with me in my apartment, so he already had the car. We met up, and then we drove up north.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the first things he said. He's like, it's dumb. Like I was moving something around, and he simultaneously operated climate and volume.
Shit.
Yeah.
So what real buttons are there? That might be the easier thing to count at this point. Please tell me there's
the switch for the parking brake. There's the on-off button.
Okay.
There's a little Braun Razor thing, kind of like from the 992, but more Volkswagen, kind of like more sculpted.
Yeah.
For the shift knob.
The paddles. I would call those.
Are those? Or would you call that?
I think
we're stretching here.
Oh, we're stretching, but the reason I'm stretching is to show how minimalist it is.
Yeah, everything's capacitive. Here, let me show you.
I'll just pull up a picture of it just to make sure I can refresh my memory because I've seen.
Well, I have right here.
Oh, gotcha.
Videos.
Gotcha. Let's see. Okay, yeah, capacitive all over the wheel.
all over the wheel, and there's also a capacitive touch panel to the left of the wheel that's on the dash that controls like lights and stuff.
I see that. See, the most egregious problem to me is the wheel capacitive touch.
Yeah, and that's like the problem with like the heated wheel and stuff.
Because you're going to be running your fingers over that. And I know that they attempt to make them so you actually have to actually push them.
You do.
A mild amount, and they may be okay, but at the same time, like, that's where you want something physical that, you know, maybe has little braille-like dots to tell you where your fingers are or what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of volume controls, like on my Tacoma, even as simple as that thing is, will have a little ridge to tell you what's up and nothing to tell you what's down. So you can find your way around even if you don't have visual of it.
We're going to share a mic here. So I'm showing Justin a picture that I took, or part of a video that I took.
Yeah.
So there's your center section, parking brake, shift knob, that's the park button and the parking brake there.
Gotcha.
This even below the actual part of the dash.
Yep.
Or like the emergency brake and like other drive mode and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's capacitive too.
God, I mean, I understand now, like looking at that more closely, why so many people were complaining about like this car and the interior. While it may look decent, depending on your styling preferences, I don't think it looks horrible, but it's, I guess, looks can be deceiving. Like as great as quote unquote capacitive touch buttons look with keeping some kind of clean minimalist aesthetic, they need to be functional. Mm-hmm. The core part of a button is the function, not the form.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It needs to just work, and work when you tell it to, not when you don't tell it to.
That screen also seemed like a bit of a reach. Was it a little bit of a reach? Not too bad? Okay.
No, it wasn't bad.
Okay, good. Wild.
Yeah.
I'm just... Granted, it's the Volkswagen brand itself is doing a bit of a rethink. A lot of their styling's going a lot more wacky than it has in the past 10 years.
Yeah, they're definitely... I mean, they kind of have to stay competitive, though, right? They have to stay... when everyone else is getting super aggro and aggressive, like, they have to be... And I still think that Volkswagen is still on the more conservative end.
Yeah.
When the car was debuted, I was really frustrated with the frumpy front end. Mm-hmm. Seeing it and being around it in person, and maybe it is because of the automotive climate that we're in right now, where there's so much disappointment. It didn't feel that bad.
Okay.
It had nice creases and nice lines in the back end. I always thought looked nice. Mm-hmm. The front is growing on me. I think it is color dependent. Yeah. I think black, it works, kind of. I think in the Kirkland brand Austin Yellow, we have Austin Yellow at home, as Jaden kindly put it. I don't think that's its strongest color. I think in like a white, it would be fine. I like the fog lights. The fog lights are cool.
Yeah.
It has these geometric shapes that are just below the headlights. And I actually learned from Jaden that the fog lights are actually behind the skin of the bumper. It's a big panel. And it has the geometric shapes cut out of the black plastic to reveal them. But it is just one panel.
Gotcha. So it's just basically a diffusion layer over it to make those shapes and stuff like that.
Yeah. I would like to see someone come out with an aftermarket bumper that it's the same shape, but just has more of those holes cut out.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not completely against the design, and maybe it is because it's growing on me. Mm-hmm. A lot of the car, it's not completely a design by committee, but it kind of does feel like it.
Yeah. I guess that just carries on the trend of a lot of Volkswagens, though.
I think so.
Most of them have felt some degree or another like that. Mm-hmm. I think the most, at least what I can think of in the past roughly 2 decades that I can think of that feel less designed by committee have been like the CC.
Yeah.
You know, some of the curves.
Like the original CC?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, like the more curvy one and stuff like that. The new, you know what, weird take. I saw one of these yesterday, and so it made me think. I haven't had an experience in one of the new Beetles, like the last generation.
Sure.
And they actually look kind of good.
They're cute.
I think they've
always been cute.
They're much better than the actual new Beetle coming out, you know, the one that came out in 2000.
Yeah.
I saw one of the Dune ones.
Oh, yeah.
And they're pretty cool. I would be interested to actually have a go on that and see how interesting that actually is. Because that was a little more bespoke than the new Beetle, which was very...
Where would you drive a Dune?
I don't know. That's the thing.
Because, like, if you drive it on normal city streets, it's going to feel like a Golf.
Yep.
If you drive it in a spirited way, it's probably going to feel like a Golf on pavement. Mm-hmm. Do you take that on gravel? Do you take it on sand?
Well, the weird thing...
Why would you buy that to take on sand?
That's where it's weird. It's very much more of a styling thing. If I remember correctly, I looked it up a while ago, and more or less...
Because aren't they lifted?
I think they're lifted, but only like an inch.
Okay.
It's not much.
Yeah.
I believe it is more or less just a visual kit. I think it does effectively the same thing that the All-Track does to the regular sport wagon, where it adds the body cladding, adds a 1-inch lift. It's mostly visual. That's what I believe, because when I was looking at them, it mentions right here that, looking at this Car and Driver article, that it's more or less just entirely the Beetle Dune, as it was called, and yeah, seems to be more or less just 0.6-inch overall width, so it does have a slight width bump with those little skirts, little fender flares, and oh wow, it's even less than I thought. 0.2-inch taller ride height. It's not even a 1/4 inch.
Jesus.
So it's not even, But the one that I saw, which is where I got the idea from, was actually lifted. It wasn't the regular one.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's the way it should have come.
Yeah.
If they were going to call something the Dune.
Yeah, give it like a 3-inch lift.
Yeah. It had a good, healthy lift that wasn't out of place. And could probably actually do some things, especially if you get, were they offered? I'm pretty sure they were offered an all-wheel drive, I think.
They would have to be.
I would hope.
Imagine the fucking gall that Volkswagen would have to market something to do something that isn't just tarmac driving and not offer all-wheel drive. They got to be Haldex.
I hope so. I'm like scrolling.
And those are 2 liters, right?
They're 1.8s, so it's basically the same. It's literally an all-track underneath.
So then that would make it Haldex then.
Yeah, I would hope so. Nope, it's not all-wheel drive.
Is all-wheel drive an option?
Lacks all-wheel drive, no available manual. Don't take it near an actual Dune as the cons.
Is that Car and Driver?
Yes.
That's funny.
Just straight up says lacks all-wheel drive. It makes it sound like it wasn't even available.
Wow.
I didn't realize that. I now don't want it anymore. Never mind.
Yeah,
if it had all-wheel drive and that 3-inch lift from factory, you might have actually had me.
Yeah.
I'd be interested enough to give it a go.
Yeah, but that would cost money, Justin.
I know. God. I mean, but somebody probably paid. Actually, in here, I think it said it was like $4,000 for that Dune package, which is a bunch of vinyl stickers and some fender flares and some special wheels.
Yep.
And I guess some 0.2-inch taller springs.
Ooh.
They added like a 1/4 of an extra link around the side.
Yeah.
Why?
Thank you, Volkswagen. Very cool. And you know, Volkswagen, to me, from 2018 until about now, has like I haven't had very many feelings for it.
Yeah.
From about 2012 until about 2018, I was actually pretty pro Volkswagen. I like the GTIs.
Yeah.
The Golf Rs also. I like the VR6s. I think those engines are really rad. DSG has been pretty incredible, and guess what? It's no fucking different than it was 5 years ago.
Yep.
It's a 7-speed, which I think it already was.
No, it was not.
Not always.
Always.
I can't remember on Mark 7 if it went to 7.
In the Golf Rs, yes.
But GTIs, no.
Yes. Yeah, the GTIs will have the standard 6-speed like what the Bryce's All-Track has.
Gotcha. Okay.
They transitioned that. The 7-speed started at the top. So they started at the TTRS level and the Golf R level and the RS3 level and then trickled down.
It was also in, granted a different 7-speed, but it was also in the S4.
Yeah, so they all kind of trickled down to the regular lineup. I'm not surprised that it's finally made its way to the regular cars because efficiency. You know,
you want to look at Mark 7.5 DSG? Because I feel like that would have gotten it.
Yes, and it very well might have, because they did a lot of the stuff that ended up in the Mark 8 started with the Mark 7.5, like the screen, stuff like that.
Yeah. I thought this months ago, and also going into this, and also coming out, I do believe that GTIs and Golf Rs peaked with 7.5.
I agree.
And I don't see Volkswagen pouring money into developing and making a Mark 9.
It'll be interesting. I mean, just like everything we've talked about, we're on a lot of cruxes and a lot of crossovers between what manufacturers are going to decide to do in the next roughly decade.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of shit.
I mean, do we think... I mean, there'll probably be an 8.5.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see a return to buttons on 8.5. If they implemented a bunch of buttons, and if they somehow made the thing not fucking understeer...
Yep.
Which, guess what? They won't. Then, like, that would be a great car. But then also, if they did that, they'd tack another fucking, I don't know, 5-10 grand onto it.
Yeah, it's just, at this point, really, really difficult because everything's getting so goddamn expensive. And I actually just had a thought that a lot of the problems that we're discussing when it comes to simplistic design, buttons, and everything like that, a lot of them stem back from Tesla. And I actually have a comparison here to make. I mean, and this makes sense. This is not a new comparison by any stretch. Tesla is to the automotive world what Apple is to the phone world. As Tesla does, the industry is starting to follow, and as Apple does, the phone world followed.
like the headphone jack and all that.
Like eliminating other connectors and other like multiple cameras. Lots of those little things. Tesla really started early on in 2010ish, eliminating a lot. Now the Model S still has a fair amount of buttons and functions compared to like the 3. Compared to the 3.
When we drove the Model S in 2013, the only button, and we made a remark on this, was to open the glove box and the hazards, and that was it.
Well, and I'm mainly saying that like the Model 3 took that and then condensed it even more into just the center screen. Like there's nothing else in front of you. It eliminates the dashboard, eliminates even more of the finger control buttons. It took what was already minimalist and made it even crazier.
Yeah. And
I think a lot of people, we're all good. That just is Flash Player deciding to notify me that it's doing things. Again. I think a lot of companies have started to realize, just like you said, that average Joe looks at screens and says fancy. Yeah. And that's been a thing that's been happening. I mean, especially since we've had the tablet, the dash-mounted tablet starting on like Mercedes. And I mean, Tesla also actually was the first person to really do that because they had... Back in 2013, 2012, whenever. I mean, I use 2013 as a metric because that's the first one that I experienced. Yeah. It had a 17-inch screen. So, yeah. Tesla leads, everyone else follows, not just with EVs, but with a lot of other things as well. So I did scroll back. Sorry, it took me a minute to find it, but I did find out Mark 7.5 did start the 7-speed and like GTI up. So it makes sense. Yeah. I actually, going back to that, would wholeheartedly agree that like 7 to 7.5, that was really... 7.5 I would call peak because... And also there were a couple of... It wasn't like there was different facelifts, but there were different like headlight options and stuff with 7. The 7.5 got the better headlights. You had your virtual cockpit. You don't have haptic buttons. You get the better infotainment too. So there's 3 different distinct generations of like little comfort features that come with 7 to 7.5. Very early 7 basically had a Mark 6 like infotainment, didn't have CarPlay or Android Auto before because it didn't exist yet. Then it got updated like the 2017 All-Track like Bryce has, that has those things with a better screen and a few little creature comforts. And his car and the Golf R were the only Mark 7s to get the LED turning headlights. Kind of weird that they did that. The All-Track SEL and the Golf R were the only ones to get the fancy headlights that became the Mark 7.5 standard. And then 7.5 added digital dash. It added the much bigger touchscreen in the center, so it feels more modern. Curved, little bits of the interior, like a decent facelift actually, going from 7 to 7.5. It really was. It was an actual proper facelift rather than just like, oh well, we made this line different on the headlight. No, and this line a little bit more refreshed on the tail light. Yeah, so it really peaked a lot of things. And there's a weird crossover there. I keep mentioning All-Tracks just because I have experience with one, but the All-Track existed in 7.5 era, but was still a 7. It never got that facelift whatsoever. Yeah. But the rest of them started in 18 and carried forward. Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, I'm kind of tired of having Volkswagen in my mind be such a punching bag. Yeah. But it also, they just aren't doing anything that I really align with that much.
and I think that's really more of a personal thing. The Mark 8 GTI does not get my cosign.
Yeah.
As far as the experience that it offers and the price delivered, from especially at the price delivered.
Yeah.
If it was, I mean, it got more power too. It had like around 240 horsepower on almost 280 foot-pounds.
Okay.
Like, it moves. It definitely moves. It's not there in the cornering. It is there on the ride. The interior is a misinterpreted version, in my opinion, of luxury.
Gotcha.
But it had radar cruise and had lane keep assist, and had the dual clutch was great as always. I'm just kind of sad. It's just kind of a bummer, really.
Now, this isn't a hatchback, but it is roughly the same size and front-wheel drive. So I would say it's roughly comparable, especially because it's also comparable in rough price range and a brand new
About
car.
to say Type R?
No.
Oh.
SI. You get a Civic SI. Yeah, you get less horsepower and stuff, but you still have a manual option. You have almost all of those comfort features.
Yeah.
And you save, well, compared to what he paid, $12,000.
Yeah.
28,000.
Yeah.
Like, I would almost rather go with that. I haven't driven one, but I have sat in one of the newer ones, just in the driver's seat real quick.
Yeah.
It's nice. Like,
It's not bad.
I fail to see overall, besides being German and having a fancy GTI name and a bit more like power and probably a bit more road holding as well. What
road holding is about the same.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Like, what other things you're actually getting more for your money for? Because I don't think there's much.
Yeah. I would like to have a go with Civic SI, with a new Civic SI, and also obviously Type R.
Yeah.
I don't get that many questions really, unless if I have something like an RS6, and then people are like, holy shit, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
And it has been a little while since the Mark 8 actually came out, but it's still somewhat a relevant car. There were two questions that I got back to back on my Instagram stories because I did a question.
Gotcha.
One, how's this a guy I know from like the Land Cruiser world and the film photography world, who also has a Mark 7.
Okay.
He asked, how does the Mark 8 compare to the Mark 7 and Mark 7.5? Lack of physical buttons a big deal? And then the next question also, my friend from Boise, also named Justin, who sadly just got rid of his GR86 for a Tacoma.
Interesting. I don't condone this.
Different life choices,
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a pickup truck, and like you can store a surprising amount of shit in a GR86, but it's not a pickup truck.
Not a truck.
And he also asked, is the interior as bad as everyone says it is? I didn't buy one over the GR86 for that reason.
Yeah. I think
the GR86 has buttons and knobs.
Yes.
And it's actually kind of a cool place to be.
Yeah. I would hesitate to say that like the interior alone is the one metric that you should measure whether or not you get a car off. However, at the same time,
well, those are the kind of people that also buy the Mark 8 because they think that has a nicer interior.
And at the same time, the interior is the place where you sit. So if it is that much of a deal breaker for you, don't fucking get it because you need to deal with it and you have to sit in it.
And $40,000 is a lot of money to pay when you touch the doors and like the seat belt and stuff. It feels fucking cheap. That feels like a $20,000 car, straight up. There are some materials that reminded me of my own car.
Yeah.
So
where's the money going? That's the weird thing. We in Americans have this, and a lot of it's marketing, this odd appeal that anything German is luxury, even when it's not, even when it's Volkswagen.
That started in the 70s with Mercedes.
Yep.
And in the 80s with BMWs with the E30.
Mm-hmm.
And also Porsche.
Whereas when I was over, I was 16 at the time, so I was young, but when we were over in Germany for a month visiting my uncle, those are normal cars. That's the Honda Civic over there,
Oh, yeah. Well, there's also all sorts of cars that we don't get that we'd love to have, like a 135i hatch.
Or several variations of the Clio that are really cool.
Sure.
You know, like just tons of random shit.
Yeah.
And tons of random even Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche shit that we don't get.
Oh, yeah, like A1s.
Yeah. Like
A1s albeit quirky and weird, are also like they're kind of cool.
A1s, they've gotten wagon variants of almost anything you can think of. All of the.
That's what I mean about the BMW 135i.
Yeah, it's
you still get an inline turbo straight six rear wheel drive and a shooting brake hatch.
right.
Yeah.
So many cool things, but it's frustrating. It's really frustrating to me because I want to love some of the new stuff coming out, and there's a lot of it I do love. Like I do love some of the efficiencies and things like that, plug-in hybrids, whatever. There's a lot of coolness to that. I kind of just fear how much are we going to lose in the pursuit of, ironing out the kinks and being more efficient, because we need to be more efficient. We need to be more environmentally friendly. But how much of the more fun side are we going to end up losing in the end?
I think the fun cars will be really the boutique manufacturers will be the ones profiting from this.
Probably.
Companies like Singer and Gunther Works and who are the people that do the Camaros and shit in the Midwest? They do like crazy high horsepower, like 1,400 horsepower Camaros.
I know who you're talking about. I am just struggling to.
But also people like Hennessy too.
Yeah. I guess, nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
I don't think it's necessarily nostalgia, though. Fun driving cars aren't necessarily an old... I mean, they've been around for a while, but that doesn't necessarily make it an old thing.
It doesn't. I'm more referring to the things that will become nostalgic, such as manual buttons, manual transmissions. Mm-hmm. Those things, are going the way of the wayside, and they'll just add to the fun car experience, because I think there is proof that it is possible to have a fun car experience while not having internal combustion. I do think those can coexist. It's just much more difficult.
I mean, I'm curious to see who the first person, aside from, Tesla taking a Lotus chassis and putting batteries in it.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the first? Well, Porsche is probably going to actually be the first EV sports car company.
Yeah.
Because they're already working on a Boxster Cayman that is electric.
There's a lot of rumors, like all the things that circulated around when the new STI got canned.
Yeah.
Like saying that we want to work on efficiencies, possibly an electric version, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? And that's not a sports car. That's slightly sports car.
Sure. But we can see sports car from here.
Sports sedan-ish. We'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, who is going to be the first? Because I agree with you. I don't think that the Model S Roadster was the first. I think that was...
You mean the Tesla Roadster?
Thank you. The Model S Roadster. There we go. I
did see a Model 3, though, with a Landau roof. That does exist. I saw it in Salt Lake.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It was a full Landau. It was the full fucking thing.
I want to know what company they paid and how much they charged. Like, who would pay? I mean, I can only imagine it's probably like $5,000 or $6,000 because they're usually riveted and glued and drilled in. It's a lot of work. Who the fuck would pay that much? Oh, this is so painful. People, your tastes, get your shit together.
Oh, they bought a Tesla, so
yeah. I know. Anyways, but that is a good question. Who is? Well, I mean, actually, has Polestar already done that?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay. With the Polestar 1?
Well, that's a GT car, first of all.
Okay.
That's not a sports car. If you've seen one in person, which you didn't.
I have not.
I have.
Gotcha.
So I drove a Polestar wagon, like a V60 wagon, like a while ago. And the owner, I drove it to Cars and Coffee with the owner, but the owner took his Polestar 1 to Cars and Coffee.
Gotcha.
So I got to see his garage and get some firsthand experience. I didn't drive it. I wish I did, but yeah, it's a fucking big bitch. It makes the RS5 look like a fucking Lotus.
Damn.
Almost.
Okay, so not that then. I guess, you know what? Kind of weird thing. I actually know because I saw you comment and like this. I know that Mazda announced that they're planning to perpetually keep the Miata around.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. I wonder if there will be... The Miata name will be around. Mm-hmm. I really fucking hope they don't pull a Ford and have a MX-5. They might not call it Miata, but they might say MX-5 on an electric crossover, which would really fucking suck.
You know what? I just thought of something.
Oh, no.
No, this is a Mazda thing, but I don't think that this would... Well, this would still upset a certain group of very vocal people. But
I'm going to be sad.
No, make like an RX-9 plug-in hybrid. So still use a rotary, but use it backed up with an electric motor that would actually give it some variance of torque. Is that not what they're
doing?
I've seen rumors of it, but there's no...
Well, no, the rotary is coming back.
Yeah.
But that's as a power generator. So you're saying use a rotary engine as a drive component.
So, yeah, use it as a plug-in hybrid type of deal where it is still essential to the drive. It's not just a generator. So take, because the rotary engine has some good things that still do exist. It's very lightweight, and so it could help cut down on the overall weight of the chassis still. But pair that with like a 200 horsepower, 200 pound-feet of torque, roughly electric motor, it would actually have torque, which is one of their biggest quirks, just because they had zero fucking torque.
Right.
It would still have an internal combustion engine. It would make it more efficient because that engine that is not very efficient for what it is could shut off at times.
Right.
It would still hopefully be able to be lightweight because the engine is about half the weight of a traditional engine.
Yeah.
So adding the batteries and the motor and stuff like that shouldn't offset weight too much.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that could actually be a way forward.
I mean, yeah, it would be interesting. The problem with electric vehicles and also trying to make a sports car is weight management.
Yeah.
Not necessarily where you put the weight, but just the sheer fucking amount of weight. Jaden, who helped me out on the shoot today, he just drove a Kia Stinger GT for the first time recently. And he loves that car, by the way. But I told him that, like, okay, so the car that you drove was roughly a 4,000-pound vehicle, right? The two-wheel drive version of the car that you drove is the same weight as an Acura NSX.
Yep.
And that's with like a mostly gas engine with like a very little amount of... I mean, that's not even with batteries, actually.
Yeah, because it has very minimal batteries.
Yeah.
And they're placed throughout the car to spread it out pretty good. And it's on a carbon tub.
Right. Yep. That's
just how fucking heavy it is.
So, okay, let's think this one through here. We want a cheap sports car, a cheap, preferably two-wheel drive sports car.
Yep.
That is around 3,000 pounds.
Yep.
For around $30,000, and it's electric. Pick two.
No, I know.
Because, okay, the manufacturing for a carbon tub, you want it to be not super powerful, but like, enough to get out of its own way.
Yeah.
People are going to want it to be a manual, which is fucking stupid. I keep hearing people talk about like EVs with manuals, like fucking why? There isn't much of an engine sound unless if you like, okay, if it has straight cut gears. That isn't anything that resembles where you need to rev match for a stick car.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of problems. That's only one of them. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and also like insta torque that's going to just fucking rip the trans apart.
Yep.
Especially if you get it wrong. Imagine getting that wrong.
Oh my fuck. It would still be all artificial because it would.
Imagine if you downshifted in a corner.
Well, because that's the thing. I don't think people that, although that in a very small vacuum, that sounds somewhat appealing. People don't realize that all of the programming of that would still be completely artificial to make it feel enough like a internal combustion engine,
right?
So that you didn't fuck it up, like you just mentioned.
Yeah,
it would still have to be. It'd have to be programmed in lag. Think about that. They would have to program in the motor to not just insta torque.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
They would literally fucking anyway.
They would have to program the power delivery to be like a gas car, where you have. It isn't just like a linear line. You would have to have
like, have a power curve.
You would have to have a power curve and have max power at the top of your RPMs.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
Yeah, it just wouldn't work. Anyways, yeah, I think it is a pick two scenario because with our current technology, we couldn't do that. There's no doubt about that. I think if you bumped it up to 40, I mean, even then would be a stretch.
If you take money aside, you have to manufacture a carbon tub, which, by the way, when Alpha did it with the Alpha 4C, that was a $60,000 car back in 2014.
Yep.
So, okay, let's double it then. So, carbon tub, and that's before you get to any EV motors or batteries or any of that stuff. You then have where are you placing the battery? Also, with a carbon tub, where are you placing the battery? It's not a skateboard at that point.
Nah, it's not.
So you have to choose where you're putting your batteries. Do you put it at the back, which would make it feel more old school 911-y? Do you place them all at the front, and then it really would be more like a GTI?
Yep.
Which, by the way, really fucking understeers when you push it. Like, not even to, like, when you push it to, like, 0.7.
Okay.
There's a clip that I'm not putting in the video. It's that same corner that you and I, for you and I, at least with our memories, well known for that Kia Stinger area. We filmed a lot of Porsche there and Fiesta ST, like these, the double horseshoe area.
Yep.
Where I was coming from the ranger station, coming down the hill around it as a right-hander, and was about 75% of the car was in the other lane.
So very traditional front-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was past the point of me like lifting off and saving it.
Gotcha.
There were some other points in time where it was like a high-speed kink, and like I feel like I'm about to start shoving, and I lift off a bit, and like the front end tucks in.
Interesting.
So this is clearly not an LSD car.
No. No.
Clearly open diff. And so that's another characteristic that, like, okay, if you put all the weight in the front, I mean, maybe you can make it 50-50, and you can literally take your total cells, battery cells, divide it in two,
because that has
put
been
one
done.
of them in the front and one of them in the back, and there you go, 50-50, more or less.
Yeah, so because that has been done.
But that would also cut back on trunk space, by the way.
Exactly. It would take away, which I guess would our trunk space in theory would already be up. Here's one problem: trunk space in theory would already be up because you would have most likely some form of a frunk, even if it's small. But that's not really the crux of the issue. The crux of the issue isn't square footage space; it's how usable is it? Because if it's only a foot deep but like 3 feet wide,
well, they probably
deep,
make it more like a Porsche where it's deep, or an R8 actually. Where it's deep, like vertically, but if you look at it laterally, it might be just like a couple feet.
Yeah, because the R8's about like 1.5 feet front to back, 2.5 feet left to right, and like 3 feet deep. It not literally 3 feet deep, but it's almost that deep. It's pretty close to the ground.
Yeah.
So you would probably lose what I would call usable luggage space, even though there would be technically more square footage of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that would be the only way to do it, would be a 50-50 split. But then comes other weird questions, which is that it would probably only be able to be a single motor at the rear end because you just wouldn't be able to do dual motor for cost reasons.
Probably.
So then,
if it's a dual motor, then this is a $100,000 car.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Obviously, no electric power steering because who's going to put hydraulic steering on an electric car? It's not going to happen. Sorry. It would just be weird. And then your problem is, if you're trying to hit that 3,000-pound target, are you going to be able to do that while maintaining any form of usable range? That could become a big issue because that's part of the reason why, like, a Lucid Dream weighs like 5,300 pounds or some odd.
Right.
Is to get
that also uses a skateboard platform though. So, and it's a large vehicle. So if you just have a larger square footage to spread more batteries on, then that makes sense. Yep. But their batteries are also more efficient than Tesla's are. There is a stat out there that's like, I don't know, a 20% more efficient or 15% more efficient than a Tesla. Yeah, and I guess the one fortunate crumb of comfort is that electric vehicles don't suffer from efficiency loss quite like gas vehicles do. Like, well, no, people think that it's so amazing that when EVs get as fast as they do, that it's such a feat of engineering that they have the range that they do, where it's actually the opposite. Mm-hmm. And the range or the power is a byproduct of the range. Exactly. The power is a byproduct of it can really dig deep into that massive battery and just suck as much as it needs to out of it. Yeah. So like, yeah, while that's great that they can get up to that size and not lose efficiency, when you're trying to look at it on a smaller scale, it kind of dips off because you can't hold that big of batteries. And since the efficiency isn't really that different from something as large as a Lucid, right, comparatively speaking, you don't have the range. If it only has 150 mile max range, and that's if all conditions are perfect, that's like probably 110, 120 usable. 80. Well, and I'm saying being conservative and like really regular driving. And if you're really pushing it, that's like 50, 40. Yeah. Yeah. That's our problem, is the current technology. So if you lived in Salt Lake, or actually even worse, if you lived up here and wanted to drive your electric sports car to the track, the nearest track is in Tooele, which is what's the range or the length from here to UMC? I believe it's about 70 miles. So you'd get there, be more than half gone, and have to charge. Yeah. It's like what you drive your new Tesla Roadster that doesn't exist to the Tesla dealership in Salt Lake, and then wait for 45 minutes to charge it for your remaining 70 miles, and then you
Yeah, it just wouldn't work. That's where like I keep looking at what I wish that it would become more than just a concept. I look at like what Hyundai was trying to redo with hydrogen vehicles again, because that's a concept that's come up time and time again between Honda and several different other manufacturers.
Yeah.
Trying to make it work. And there's clearly some major roadblocks there that I wish we would put a bit more development into, even if hydrogen vehicles only became like a holdover until our battery tech is better.
Right.
Because
I don't see that happening though.
I don't.
Also, there's the issue of fueling stations, making sure those are maintained, and also the process of pressurizing shit to like 10,000, 20,000 psi.
Oh yeah, and that's a lot of the issue is the danger of it. And like people love to complain about how battery cells can perpetually catch on fire after an initial incident because they get punctured and then they just keep blowing one cell after the other.
Yeah.
Hydrogen would be even worse than that. You're effectively driving around a pressurized bomb.
Yeah, there's also that too.
Yeah.
Well, and we're also having issues with EVs catching fire.
Just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah. You know what? We're in automotive teenage land. We're in the puberty stage of like automotive trying to move on to an entirely new technology after being on the same technology
I think we're actually at the just turned 63, 64 where we're about to retire phase. We're trying to figure out what our retirement is going to be.
Well, yeah, and definitely the internal combustion engine's that way because, I mean, it's been over a century now that it's been the primary mode of transportation, effectively. And that's why it's so cheap to build something internal combustion, and that's why it doesn't make sense when Volkswagen makes a $40,000 GTI, by the way, when several car manufacturers can push out $17,000 to $23,000 cars, really cheap ones, of course, but like as cheap as that, and still have a fully functional car. It's fucking frustrating.
Yeah. I'm trying to just think about where to take this next, really. And I kind of want to talk about the GTI again. Because it is just so, like, fresh on the brain.
Yeah.
For $40,000, and we have talked about this before in videos, like, oh, for $40,000, what could you get? You can get a lot of Mustang and Camaro. I mean, if you're looking used, you are talking about 997s.
Yep.
Which is a sports car that you can totally and easily drive daily. My friend Bruno, who works at OC Tanner, that I know through the Watch Club.
Yeah.
He throws BlizzX on. He has a 997 Carrera 4S.
Gotcha.
And he threw his BlizzX on, and he drives his everywhere.
I was going to say, yeah, because you can get those in all-wheel drive.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's perfect.
What else are you looking at for the $40,000 range? I mean, brand new, you're still looking in the Type R area. There isn't a GR Corolla, even the base version, because everything's going to have markup. Even the core is going to be more expensive than that. You can buy a lot of crossovers for that.
I mean, I did see one mention in the comments on your Facebook of like the Kona N, I guess, or the Veloster N.
Veloster N's out of production.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that. It's gone.
So you have Elantra N.
Elantra N, yep. Or the Kona if you wanted something bigger and more bulbous.
If you still wanted a hatch.
Yeah.
I would actually look at Kona N before looking at Elantra N, to be honest.
Yeah. That's fair.
I'm really not a sedan, like a compact sedan guy. It's just not my...
Yeah.
Not my
and the Kona N is like the Kona in general has grown on me, and the N specific is like, okay, those
are neat.
Neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat enough. I'm mainly trying to keep it like if I kept it new and kept it at least slightly enthusiast focused, like what else is there besides that would be in that range? And because you've already mentioned Type R, Corollas, just no way
out of there.
I did mention SI, which is a little bit less so, but still enough.
SI, the GTI and the SI should be competitors.
Yeah,
because then there's Type R and Golf R.
And the SI, in theory, that was base price of $28,000. So in theory, okay, let's say 32, 33 out the door.
Yeah,
without too many options. Okay.
BRZ and GR86 are also like base price 27 and 29 respectively.
Yep.
So those are in the same price range, and it is a 2-door sports car. It's a 2+2, but you can fold the back seats down and get access to trunk.
True.
Like you can take your BRZ to the track, swap out tires, and like the tire, you like bring tires with you in the car and swap them out.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that people do.
So I did just think of two others. So you could do.
You could buy a couple of Fiesta STs for that.
You could. You could do a base model, several different variations of like the base Mustangs.
Not base for 40.
For 40, I guess 40.
For 40, you're getting GT.
40, you could get
Actually,
a GT.
hold on. Can you pull up the price of the new one? Because I'm kind of going off of the S550.
Okay, let's see.
And because I'm at the end of a day, and you're at the end of a work day too, our brains are a little fried. It's not the 23. I think it's like a 25.
Oh, gotcha.
Or maybe it's a 24. I don't know. S650.
Oh, that's specifically the GT500. So I'll just type in S650 up here, search that.
Yeah.
S650, F650 Mustang, 2024 right there.
Yeah. But that's on CJ Pony Parts. We're going to need an actual website, like a Ford website. Do they not have... Does Ford...
Or does Ford not know how to manage their SEO to get proper search results?
Hold on. Well, go to Ford's website.
Ford.com. Okay, and cars. The 2023.
Wow, they only have the outgoing Mustang. By the way, starting at 27.
Okay, so I mean,
which is also, guess what, where the GTI should be.
And also guess what, where the SI is, because that's where the GTI should be. So like, they all started around the same.
Yeah.
And so I thought of that. I thought of another funny one, which was also Ford. I would love for them to make some kind of slightly hilarious, sporty-ish version of the Maverick.
Well, they're making a Tremor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there is rumor about Maverick ST.
That
would be great.
Cool.
Well, so I went onto Cobb's website. There's a tune. There's a tune and a drop-in filter that you can get through Cobb, and it ups it to basically 200 wheel and about 250 torque.
Hell yeah!
And there was also someone that open up a new tab and type in world's fastest Ford Maverick, which sounds like a really dreadful title. But someone I think ran 11s. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, 13. I'm sorry.
Still 13.5.
Yeah.
That's not slouching.
No.
For a little tiny pickup.
So I've told a few people this, and I think I mentioned this on the podcast, that I'm thinking about a Ford Maverick for my next vehicle.
Yeah.
In probably like 3 years or so. And how rad would it be? And I'm trying to think of, like, I could take this in a couple of different directions.
Yeah.
Do I go, street truck that's also efficient, and do like Focus RS wheels because it's the same bolt pattern?
Yeah.
Focus RS wheels and like, a tune and exhaust maybe, and like have just kind of like a snorty little like, commuter truck. Or do I go a more traditional route for people that have these and, throw on like a slight lift with some like knoppy tires, and have it be a more all-weather, all-purpose, and take it camping kind of thing?
It's weird. I'm starting to see, I've seen both like slightly custom things done with the Maverick, both the lifting end of it and the lowering end of it. I think the Maverick is starting to become what like we talked about with old Minis, where there was so many different variations and people kind of just created their own canvases with them.
Well, yeah, and Ford, there was something about 3D printing interior parts.
Yep.
I'm spacing on what that actually was.
It was Ford giving effective permission for the printing community to design interior bits.
Gotcha.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It basically is, you've always been allowed to obviously make your own custom part to fit certain things, but Ford gave the schematics to printers and people that want to do things to say, hey, here's the dimensions. If you want to make your own shit, like change the cup holder to red or whatever, here's literally the schematic. Yeah,
I'm looking at some things right now. The first website, as far as ads is concerned, is Etsy.
Yep, there you go.
Which is exactly what that's for. But yeah, so, inside the Ford Maverick interior to the right of the navigation, there's just like a cubby.
Yep.
I guess, like a tiny little cubby. Kind of similar purposes to what my cubby is in my Fiesta. Not the same size or shape, but just a cubby that's almost useful.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's going to be most likely an insert for people to, fabricate some things. Like someone I'm looking at here, someone 3D printed a grid to go in that cubby to put a phone mount.
Hell yeah.
So like a fan or a vent, phone mount that people would normally use. You buy this $25 3D printed part, and then I don't know if it comes with. No, it wouldn't come with the mount itself, but it's like a cubby that kind of goes in there, and you can just
click it in. Yeah, and that's where I think Ford is taking the right approach in a lot of things, because not only are they taking the right approach with the Maverick in general, but also with like the 3D printed stuff.
Yeah.
And I think they also are taking the right thing with talking about the idea of ditching dealerships and going direct to consumer.
I think they should.
I think the only thing they've really majorly fucked up in the last couple years has been the Mach-E, just because it just needs to not be a Mustang.
Oh, I think the biggest thing that they fucked up is giving people their Bronco Raptors while people with normal Broncos are 900 days late.
True. I would love to know the corporate logistics of how that happened, because it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
Because, they're all over the place. Because even the person that we know that has a Bronco, Easton, waited 2 years for his, which was a year and a half longer than they started hitting showrooms.
Yeah.
Fucking pathetic.
Yeah. By the way, there is someone who 3D printed a sauce holder.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you on Facebook because this is just too good.
That's funny. A sauce holder.
Yeah.
So I remember, that reminds me of this, which was a joke for the April Fools for the D3A8, which I'm pulling up for you right now, where they had a Japanese only edition that has a rice cooker.
Oh my God. That's so racist.
I know, it's a little, and this was 2015. This wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah.
And this was an official April Fool's Day thing.
The fact that they did it for April Fools and not for real makes it racist.
It's definitely
just a little
cringe,
bit.
but
Just a little racist. It's fine. I mean, they're German, so
this, yeah.
Jesus.
Anyways,
I sent you the thing.
Oh, let me look at it. The sauce holder. That's fantastic. Oh, that's great.
You can get it in blue, orange, black, or gray blue.
I mean, it's true. Most sauce packets are that exact same size, so it'll probably fit 80% of like the sauce cup holders.
Oh yeah, like the Szechuan sauce, Chick-fil-A sauce, ketchup packets.
Yep, whatever. That's great.
Yeah.
Man, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just hope that we have a few more things in that category, because I still am struggling to think of more things to fit in that $30,000 to $40,000 enthusiast category that's continuing to get thinner and thinner.
It's it's not going to be really much more plentiful.
No.
I mean, I'm grateful that the GR Corolla exists. I do wish that we got the GR Yaris, which is, okay, different market. Okay, fine, whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, like losing the STI, we have a kind of a disappointing WRX to take its place, which also could, be in that same buyer segment as the GTI. You're losing a hatch, but you're gaining 2 more drive wheels.
We lost the Evo forever ago, feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's wild. It's been almost 10 years.
Yeah. Almost a decade.
Wow.
Since we lost the Evo, which was in that rough price.
Oh,
bracket.
yeah. I mean, it's a direct competitor. There was a rivalry between STI and Evo for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And, the Miata still exists in there, technically.
Yeah.
It'd be
different buyer, but yeah.
Very different buyer, but still in the same price range. RX-8's been gone for over a decade.
When was 2013 was the last year, right?
Yeah, so I guess technically a decade exactly.
Yeah.
But a long time as well.
Yeah.
Which was a fierce competitor in that segment. We haven't had... The Supra is now hitting a little above that.
We have 400Z.
True, if anybody can get one.
If you're including, Miatas and shit in the same conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Want to Google or go to Auto Tempest and see what people are selling 400Zs for?
Not really, but yes. Because I
We're already getting bummed out.
I know it truly is a really sad day and whatnot. What the hell? We are not scrolling any longer. Oh, that's why we had a pop-up. It won't unpop up.
Oh,
there we go. We're good now. Just old Mac doing old Mac things.
Mm-hmm.
And Nissan. Then it's not even on here.
Go down. It's not under 400. It's under Z.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, yeah, because they just technically called it the Nissan Z.
Yeah, but we're all calling it the 400Z.
I'll put in mine. Let's just see 300 miles. If we don't get any hits, I'll increase it.
I'm sure we'll find some.
Oh.
The fuck?
Radius?
Anywhere.
Who's
selling? You have to hit search. Down.
Oh, sorry. I literally couldn't see it because the top of the Mac was blocking it. Thinking. Contemplating. Okay, there we go.
$74,000.
Yep. First listing, 74. That one says, is that 60?
69.
69, yeah.
That's not a nice price.
Nice, not.
What the fuck? Oh, okay.
And that's an eBay listing, so those are probably auctions. But that's 370Z. Sorry, I didn't even realize.
Yeah, that's old.
Yep. Oh, there you go. I mean, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So 60 to 70. So
for the enthusiast market, enthusiasts aren't looking at new cars.
Go used.
Which is unfortunate because the fewer people that are buying new cars means that sales will go down.
Yep.
And they're just going to keep eliminating cars.
And corporations are going to corporation. They have to. They're just going to be like, oh, well, nobody wants them anymore, so we're not going to invest the billions it costs us to make them.
Yeah. Which is why it's going to go to the boutiques, and then we're going to be, a cheap sports car. In the future, I have a hard time seeing, through a boutique is going to be maybe 50.
Yeah. 50, at the very minimum.
Mm-hmm.
I'm possibly even envisioning that there could be a 6-figure entry price to most of them.
Well, yeah, because you have also, the people like Gunther and Singer and other custom shops and stuff. We're talking $300,000 to $500,000 cars. Yeah. And the amount of those cars are growing, and also the amount of supercars, the $1 million plus supercars. That's a growing figure.
That's been a pop-in market for a minute.
Yeah, and we're, all the cheaper enthusiast cars are just depleting. So, I don't know.
Well, let's do this. We'll do a little more research, see if we can think of anything for next week. But if you have an opinion on this subject, maybe there's something we missed, you should definitely hit us up and let us know. Yeah, man. Hit us up on Instagram at Exhibition of Speed. That's a way to get in touch with us. We're not as active on there as we should be, but send us a DM at gp.media is where I live. Chaos Theory Utah is where Justin lives on Instagram. And let us know if we're really missing much as far as new cars, because we can run the gamut again. Civic Type R, GR Corolla, Mustang, Camaro is gonna die. Yep.
We have the GR86 and BRZ, which is the same car. GTI, Golf R. Civic Si, just a little bit below those. Civic Si. You already said Miata? Miata, yeah. Technically 400Z and Corolla, but good luck getting either of those. Yep. But if we missed one, let us know, because we don't want to end this on doom and gloom, even though it may be ending today on doom and gloom. Also, wait, by the way, did you have anything to talk about today, or was... No, that's good. Oh, okay. I'm fine with just the banter that's gone back and forth with honestly talking about this. I was more curious on your Mark 8 experience that we just debunked. So yeah. Well, there's also going to be a video on that, by the way. If there's anyone still listening, video is going to come out probably end of April. Yeah. By the time it gets around, because we have my car, your car, C8 Corvette, and now this. Yep. So... Veloster N is going to come out after that, which just went out of production, but we have the whole N line of cars, which is Kona N and Elantra N. Yeah. To throw into this conversation as well. But thank you all for listening. We have merch still. Yes. For sale. We do. Please buy our merch. Please. Please, please. Please make this not as much of a mistake as it was.
I know.
Until next time, I've been Gavin.
And I've been Justin.
And this has been the Exhibition of Speed podcast. Goodbye.